Good evening. Quite a privilege today to get this opportunity to share some of my experiences as a woman entrepreneur. I had the privilege to work closely with many women entrepreneurs who were running businesses mainly at micro level. Women who run businesses at micro level are majority, and they face many long-standing problems such as lack of access to market, lack of workspace, lack of startup capital, and lack of skill training, in addition to the societal fixed attitudes that undermines the role of women in society. Among many experiences, I would like to share one. I call it the university experience because it happened when our members tried to do business with a local university. Among 5 years ago, we managed to organize a group of 40 women who had more capacity to compete for a better business bid to win food supplying business for a local university. These women won the bid to supply food for 10,000 students for the whole year. It was great news for our association because this was the first big business endeavor that ever happened to our members since our establishment in 2001. However, as we go along, we encountered countless and many challenges that taught us many lessons. The first challenge they faced was that it was too much work for them. With their triple responsibilities at home, they were all married and have children. They were working long hours both at home and running a business at the same time. When we knew that they needed help, we requested local government's Trade and Industry Bureau to provide technical support to them because they were overworked. The local Trade and Industry Office responded immediately and provided very good support. The second challenge was that one morning when the ladies went out to the market to purchase their food supplies, all food distributors refused to sell their food products to them because all the businessmen in town have been doing this business for many years and they were angry at the women for taking over their business and they wanted to sabotage them. There were no food products available for them to purchase in the whole town. The ladies were forced to rent a truck, go out of town, and spend more money and more time to purchase the food supplies. This problem was managed, but it made them work extra hours, and the supplies cost them much more. The third challenge was that the ladies started receiving threatening phone calls that unless they drop this business deal immediately, they will be harmed. We went to the police commission and reported to the commander in charge, and he was very helpful. We went to the police commission and we explained everything. All he wanted was names and addresses. The persistent protection the ladies received from the police and their association gave them a lot of confidence to continue working day and night. We were just taking a deep breath because we thought all the problems are solved and the ladies are doing great and everything was under control. But one day I received this phone call from a gentleman, an angry gentleman. He referred himself as the husbands. We were already overwhelmed by many unexpected challenges and now we had to face the most serious of all. We did not expect this one. I asked the gentleman why he called and he said, "We are the husbands of the women you're working with. We're faced with some serious problems with our wives. They are causing serious problems at home. Before our homes break into pieces, we must talk to you right away." I asked, "How many are you?" And he said, "We're around 40. I said, "Oh no. Please choose 4 or 5 among you and I'll be very happy to talk to you." 5 of them came and they were very, very angry. They asked, "What is the purpose of your association? Since our wives joined your association, they have been so busy that food has not been prepared and in the house, and the children are totally left alone. The whole family is in a big problem. Before we take actions, We must hear something from you. Our wives have to drop this business. Whatever they're doing before we take some actions, they said. We were taken by surprise, and we were terribly worried by this problem because unless handled very carefully, we knew this problem could cause a very serious problem to the extent of losing our acceptance in the community as women's organization. Although it took a lot of time and effort, with very straightforward and emotional discussions with the wives and the husbands, this problem was managed successfully. The ladies were able to finish their business contract for the whole year with their husband's complete support, and they went home at the end of the year with good amount of money. What I would like to bring your attention to this time is that the two major concerns that the husbands mentioned, food and children. Ladies and gentlemen, these concerns are legitimate. They are legitimate concerns because men in most underdeveloped countries are not trained on food and children. They are not trained to cook. They are not even allowed in the kitchen. They were raised thinking and believing that they never have to deal with food preparation and childcare. These concerns by men are legitimate because it's a question of survival. We also must pay attention to the connection of women, food, and children. In developing countries, we have a problem with food and children. According to the UN Sustainable Development Report, 60 to 80% of the total food production in developing countries and half of the world's food is produced by women. In most African countries, 80% of the household food is processed by women. 80% of the world's stunted children live in 20 countries and 63 million primary school children attend class hungry across the developing world. With 23 million in Africa, 1.3 million children die each year out of hunger. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Our life begins to end the day we become silent about things that matter." He also said, "Action expresses priorities." The strong complaint we received from the husbands challenged us to look more closely to the problem. We heard them, and we heard them well. We took their complaint as a request for more strategic thinking to bring long-lasting and wholesome development in our communities. We learned that the husband's anger was instigated by fear of survival, but not out of disrespect or hate to their wives. We understood that they were scared to face the household responsibilities alone, which they were not trained for. We also understood the implications of all this, how it's affecting our lives, how it's affecting our country, and how it's affecting our continent. There are tremendous efforts done by many governments and large organizations to address the problem of women and children in developing countries. But we should be highly strategic to focus on where the problem originates. We must check our understanding and attitude towards food and children. Studies show that school performance is directly linked to nutrition, or the amount of nutrition given to a child at early age. Therefore, food is not an option. It's a necessity not just for survival, but a necessity for better performance. And children are not born by choice. They are part of our community. They are gifts to the world. Society must be willing to invest on children, otherwise it's not reasonable to expect them to be productive and responsible citizens when they become adults. If we don't invest, then we should not expect. Around 6 years ago, I got a chance to visit schools in Sweden, and I saw school kitchens used to feed Swedes' children at school premises. I learned that most developed countries have school meal systems where they secure children systematically. I went back home and did a survey in one school to assess the attitudes on food and gender roles among high school students, and around 83% of the boys were not allowed in their own home kitchen. After discussing the issue with the school community, we decided to open an experimental school kitchen, not just as a feeding center, but as a training center for boys to change the mindset on food and gender roles. The boys who were able to attend the class were highly transformed, that they were preparing their own school lunch after the training. We also realized that they were not just aware on gender roles, but their values and understanding for food was much, much higher than before. It's true that if you don't value it, you will not produce it. If you don't produce it, you don't have it. If you don't have it, you can't cook it. In most African countries, despite rapid economic growth, we still have large number of malnourished children. We cannot lower the number of malnourished children unless we have a social infrastructure to address the problem of food and children. I believe that schools are strategic places to bring long-lasting social transformation in developing countries, because we will find all community groups, men and women, scientists, doctors, engineers, humanitarians, investors, at schools when they are very young. The principles are clear. Train a child in where he should go, and he will not depart from it when he becomes an adult. I strongly believe that the problem of food and children in developing countries is a problem of value systems and attitudes caused by poor childhood training and lack of social infrastructure to support it. Our policies and strategies are highly influenced by our values. If we value it, it will show up on our policies, it will show on our strategies, it will show on our priority list. We must first have the values and then create a social infrastructure to provide sustainable livelihood for the children. And we must provide training so that children will not suffer from lack of important skills when they become adults. That's why we recently put together a new organization called the Ethiopia School Meal Initiative. The Ethiopia School Meal Initiative is a social infrastructure designed to bring sustainable livelihood to the children of Ethiopia. A local initiative that will work towards creating a local meal system, school meal system, that will be managed by local people out of local resources using local skills. A system that suggests Ethiopia's children must be the first beneficiaries of our rapid economic growth. It will also create a system that can train children through schools, kitchens on how to lead a healthy life, through proper nutrition and work on changing the fixed mindsets about women, food, and children. The school kitchens will also be used to create awareness on the connection of nutrition and school performance for the whole community. This initiative will work to address the problem of food and children through school kitchens. The issue of school kitchens is not really about cooking. It's not even about who should do what. It's about values, attitudes, and a clear understanding on what matters the most. It's about paying attention to the origins of our social and economic problems. It's about sharing and showing compassion to the people we love and care for. And it's about creating harmonious community that's built on the foundations of helping one another. And finally, I want to say that show me your school today, and I will show you what your country will look like tomorrow. Let's all work towards making schools safe havens for the children of Africa. Thank you very much.